Let's rewind like a VHS. Turn back the time, feel the beat in our chest. Make sure that we never forget. Let's rewind like a VHS. VHS, VHS. Let's rewind like a VHS. VHS, VHS. Let's rewind like a VHS. Let's concede that we wanna believe that the past was only a dream, just a place that we never could leave. Follow us on the way to retrieve. VHS, VHS. Let's rewind like a VHS. VHS, VHS. Let's rewind like a VHS. Like a VHS, turn back the time, feel the beat in our chest. Make sure that we never forget. Let's rewind like a VHS. VHS, VHS. Let's rewind like a VHS. VHS, VHS. Let's rewind like a VHS. Let's concede that we wanna believe that the past was only a dream, just a place that we never could leave. Follow us on the way to retrieve. VHS, VHS. Let's rewind like a VHS. VHS, VHS. Let's rewind like a VHS.
What's up, everyone? DJ Anubis here with you on Metal Tavern Radio Podcast with another episode of the Cinematic Synergy with my great friend and co-host Kevin Lambert from the Entertainment Headquarters. Thank you for joining me once again, my friend. Good to see you. Yes. So for those that don't know, this show is based around most of the time, once a month, he and I will go and alternate picks of movies that we will sit down and review. It could be past, present, or future. This time around was my pick from a film called Killers from 2014. And I remember when I first saw this, it was kind of like on a whim. I think it might have been on Tubi at the time. It's on Tubi now, but at the time, I think it was on Tubi or something. And it looked familiar. Just in terms of like the cover, I was like, okay, this looks interesting. I want to check this out. And as I'm watching it, I recognize one of the main stars, Kazuki Kitamura, who of course plays X in Godzilla Final Wars. So I was like, this is a nice little connection. I did not know this. So I also learned that the company that did this also has a hand in the Raid 2, which is a great film of that Raid series. So a lot of cool connections there. It also stars Oka Antara, Ren Takanashi, and Luna Maya. Directed by the Mo brothers. I don't necessarily know what they've directed in the past, but either way, this is a very fun film. And actually, was this your first time seeing it?
Yes. And very much like you, what interested me, obviously great pick on your part. The thing I liked about it, like you said, the familiar face, I recognize the face straight away.
Yeah.
From obviously Godzilla Final Wars. He plays that kind of like rebel ex-alien who basically turns even against his own kind and goes a bit loopy by the film's end. Also, I like the fact that it was produced by one of the producers of The Raid. And as you know, the Raid movies are really great movies. And so I had quite a lot of faith that this was going to be a good film.
Yeah. So basically, the film talks about where you have like this Japanese executive in Tokyo who has a dark side of his personality in life where he's actually a serial killer and he's killing women on video, and then he releases it. And so, local authorities have this issue where they're trying to find out who this guy is, but he's very hard to catch. They just don't know where to begin looking. So then on the other hand, we've got Bayu, who is this journalist from Indonesia, and he spent some good years. He's a family man, had a wife and a kid, daughter, and he spent some years trying to bring down this politician named Dharma, and it goes south. Like he can't get everything to work in the court system, so he loses credibility, and then eventually his wife leaves him, at least separates, and they share custody of the daughter. But it's certainly tense because even his father-in-law, is like kind of like disregarding, like, what are you doing with yourself these days? Like, you failed taking down this guy who seemed to be a very good dude, but obviously that didn't work out. So what are your first impressions about the film when it starts out?
Well, it started with a bang, let's be honest. It gave me I don't know when it came out, the show, but it's definitely got like a mixture of different properties in this. Like, it's got vibes of Dexter straight up the beginning. Like, anyone who's a fan of that show on Showtime, it has it's got this serial killer who, he's committing these crimes and there's no clues to who he is, and there's people are, investigating it, and it's kind of going nowhere. So it starts off with him where he's basically, you see him basically in the middle of having passionate love making with this woman. And the next thing the next scene is she's running wild through this forest area. And next thing you know, you just see a bag get put over her head and he's got this mask on. And then he takes her to this room, and it's got all, obviously, the sheets down, all the plastic sheets covered. Straight away, it gives you Dexter vibes. And it's quite brutal because when I was watching it, I was totally, into what was going on. That when he was killing her and you heard her hit her head with like this mallet, I even like kind of quint like that, because it was like you could feel it and it felt raw and real. And so straight away the setup of the movie with his character instantly gets you. Now, the other part of the setup of the movie, which you mentioned with Bayou, is he's this guy who, like you mentioned, who's trying to take down this politician, fails, and he's frustrated, and he kind of goes and confronts him after I guess like it's a press conference after he comes out of the court and he's basically successful in defending himself, and he goes to confront him by himself in the courtroom car park, and he's like, "Do you recognize me?" And they have this go between each other, and you can tell he just looks and feels defeated, and he's frustrated that it didn't go down. And at the same time, you've got this serial killer, and it's great how their stories kind of intertwined with one another.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. You said, it brings in some of like the Dexter vibes. I was also thinking of there was a movie in the mid '90s with Morgan Freeman called Kiss the Girls.
Yes,
and there's a portion of that where there's like these competing serial killers competing for like the attention and stuff. So obviously this starts out a little bit differently because, again, Bayou being a journalist, he's just trying to kind of reclaim his name as a journalist by still trying to take down this guy Dharma, who he knows is a bad guy, but he just can't seem to put the proof together to do it. And then he's struggling because, his wife has like this new guy in the life that may or may not be romantically involved, but chances are he might be like on the horizon. Mm-hmm. So that's, again, more tension there with that. But What is interesting about this is there comes a night when Bayou is in a taxi cab and it seems to get hijacked by the driver. I guess it looks like they were going to rob him and also sexually assault him. So there's another guy that shows up and there's like this attempted rape on him that starts to happen.
Mm-hmm.
And this is kind of like the turning point for him because he manages to, wrestle away the gun from his offender and then shoots the main guy trying to rape him and then also shoots the driver. But he has like this epiphany. He's like, yeah, I'm done being a bitch for everybody because at that point he's kind of somebody who just takes a lot of bullying and stuff like that and getting beat up.
It's like what I was saying before. He's somebody that's trying to do the right thing the right way, but because it hasn't worked out, he's frustrated, he's angry, he feels like the world's against him, like his father-in-law's against him, and clearly looks down on him because he looks at him like a failure. He's probably in his own mind, I'm a failure as a father, a failure as a husband. He's failed at getting this politician corrupt into jail, and now I've been attacked, and it was like the straw that brought the back, and he was like, right, and if I can't do things the right way, I'm gonna have to take things into my own hands and go ahead and do things the wrong way in many ways. But at the same time he does that, you've got this serial killer who's now been attracted to like a woman who owns a flower shop, who has a younger brother who's got autism, and for somehow Bayou decides, after being hijacked and potentially raped, he decides to go on the dark web.
Yep.
And he goes on the dark web and he starts basically investigating the dark web. I think he's looking for inspiration or some sort of things.
Well, I know the night that he's in the taxi, he starts taking his phone out and he's actually filming the two guys dying. Like they have bullet holes or whatever, and they're kind of on the cusp of death. So he's aware of what this serial killer has been doing. So he's aware of that dark web you're talking about. He's aware of what's going on. So, but you can tell, which is really great acting by Oka here, is because his character being the journalist is very new and naive to what he's doing. So he uploads his first video of that event but he's kind of sloppy. He doesn't title it right. He doesn't protect his IP. And Nomura, played by Kitamura, recognizes this. But he likes that he has like, oh, I've got another guy doing the same shit that I am. This is great. Because this is somebody, Nomura is the kind of guy that, despite being this polished serial killer, is kind of looking for
companionship.
Right. He's looking for someone who shares his vision of life. Like he's been through a lot. He lost his sister. And so like with the one girl that has the special needs kid, it looks as if she's attempting to get the kid killed. So it like sort of like put him out of her misery, plus save her all the headache of having to take care of this kid who's kind of like, it's hard. She's single. Is she the mother or sister? I think she's the mother.
No, she was the sister.
Sister. Okay. But then like we see that, and that's where, Nomura's like, oh, well, she must be like me because she's attempting to murder her brother. But then in a flashback later on, it shows that she was kind of trying to take them both out, and he just was visioning it differently.
I think both the parents are dead. She's had to look after the younger brother from a younger age. She's got this flower shop, but it's not really doing well. It's struggling. And I feel like she's got the whole world against her, on her top of her shoulders, having to look after her younger brother. And she's herself now getting depression. She's got no one else to help her. And in that moment, that weak moment, for a split second, she thought, what if I just end it and I take him with us? But obviously that's what we see from his perspective, he's looking at when he's driving past in the car, he's looking at her with tears in her eyes and like holding the brother, and it does look like she's about to push him into the road in front of moving cars. But then, of course, the back end of the story, you discover she wasn't just going to take him out; she was going to take herself out. But you pull back because you realise it's stupid what I'm thinking. And I need to sort my life out and sort myself out.
Yep. Yeah. So obviously, Nomura's, again, like you said, looking for a companion. So he sees kind of like what he wants to see, and he does what we see in a lot of serial killer movies. Is even Dexter, they want some sort of normalcy. They want some sort of normal life on top of this dark passenger that they carry. Mm-hmm. So he's looking for a partner there. Plus, with what happens with Bayou is that, now you've got this other guy posting death on the dark web, and he's like, well, now I have like a companion there. So now we can kind of play a game. And that's kind of like how he looks at it. So he tries to give him advice about how to be more careful. But of course, being as naive about it as Bayou is, this allows Nomura to kind of know who he is, where he's come, because he doesn't really Bayou doesn't really cover his face very well. He's very careless about how he handles things. So eventually, when he catches up to Dharma's PR guy, who we find out like that, I love all the twists in this film. So he plans to go kill the PR guy because it's part of his problem with Dharma. He's really got a problem with this politician who ruined his life. He blames him for everything that's happened.
We need to go back to the politician just a little bit because
sure.
When we do the court case thing right at the beginning, the main thing that he's trying to prove against Dharma to get him prosecuted is that he's beaten up his wife and that he assaults girls, and he there's all like this secrecy about him assaulting girls and beating up his wife. And then like you say, his HR person kind of who's standing in front of the media is like, him and his wife love each other. These are his enemies, just pushing lies out there to ruin his reputation, to ruin he doesn't, have any interest in underage girls. He's not that way inclined. He's a respectable man of the community and of the city. So you get all that right at the beginning, but then when you see them in the car park, you do see like a dark side of Dharma. But his PR guy is still the one right at the front, basically doing all the talking.
Yep. And it was kind of funny because looking at the PR guy, like the way he had his hair, I kept thinking of the scientist from -1, even though it's not the same dude, but the hairstyle is kind of similar.
I was going to say
you just throw glasses on him, it looks just like him.
Yeah.
But yeah, so Bayou gets into the PR guy's house, and again, this movie does a nice job of throwing things at you. Where again, we see how polished Nomura is when it comes to killing women. Like he has a plan. It's all very calculated. Whereas Bayou, everything is like a messy, chaotic. Like he tries to hold gunpoint with the PR guy.
Yeah.
The PR guy jumps and they start fighting around. So it's like a very clusterfuck.
I fucking laughed my head off where he literally just grabs onto them there.
Yeah. So he manages to get the PR guy under control and like ties him up. And there's a second where he's like, maybe I'm not going to do this. Maybe it's like, maybe this isn't me, because the first killing was more out of desperation and self-defense than this is. This is more what he's trying to do to kind of, he's so angry at the world about what happened with him and his family that he's trying to take it out on these people. But we get this noise coming up from the upstairs. And so we're like, somebody else is in the house. And, this moment kind of reminds me a little bit of Rorschach in Watchmen. So he goes up and he finds that there's this young girl tied or handcuffed, and she's being beaten and probably sodomized or whatever. Find out that this PR guy is probably a pedophile. Like he's been raping this kid.
Yeah.
And now all bets are off. Like Bayou's like, no, okay, I'm taking care of this guy. He's a real hard class piece of shit. So we get this cool moment where he's got this guy in a basement or something. I'm not sure where it's at. It might be in the same house. I can't remember. But he's got him in a basement. He's got him tied up. And again, this is where sort of the mistake that Bayou makes. He shows him who he is. He takes his own mask off. And the PR guy's like, "Oh yeah, you're that crazy sick journalist or whatever." But at this point, Bayou's like really pissed. So he's still filming everything, but he decides he's gonna light this dude on fire, which it's a pretty cool death. Like it's a good way to go about doing this. One thing I will say I do like about this film too, same with the raid and stuff, is that the cinematography is great. Like there's some symbolism in here.
Yeah.
There's a point later on where Nararu is looking at those flowers.
Yes.
And they've got like a little bit of blood on them. So I thought, man, that's really kind of cool. Like how they
attention
did that
to detail. Yeah, attention to detail. And like going back to the way before he sets him on fire and he takes his mask off and he tries to sympathize. He tries to get Bayou on his side because he knows who he is and he knows he's got a family and he's got a daughter. And he tries to play on he's sympathizing by saying, right, I've got a daughter too. Have mercy on me. But then he turns around and he goes, but what about the girl upstairs? You didn't show her mercy. So then you just see him throw the petrol on him and then set him alight. And them scenes where he's struggling and he's getting gushed in flames are just fantastic. Great cinematography, like you say, but like I say, it's like when you saw the first murder at the beginning with that woman. It's like you feel every inch of pain, but this time you're quite satisfied at this because he's a scumbag that's getting his comeuppance.
And that's exactly where like almost the Dexter thing comes in, because Dexter was a device used to kill bad guys. Like that's how his dad was going to teach him to deal with his dark side, was to say, okay, you have serial killer tendencies, but we're going to use it to something good, or at least try to. That's what Bayou is trying to do. He's, basically targeting bad people. Whereas Nararu, he's like, Nomura, he's like targeting innocent women. Like he's got some issue there from his past with his sister that is a catalyst for his own problems. He's like a whole different monster.
I look at Nararu though. He's a professional serial killer, where Bayou, he's somebody that he's not born to be a serial killer, but because he's out of desperation, because his life's in such a dark place, he's kind of turned to this dark side within him that he's not used to going to, and he's doing these things very amateurish, and it's obviously he's getting deeper and deeper involved, where Nararu's looking at him as like not like a brother of arms type thing, but in trying to get that darkness out of him even more, and he's struggling whether to go so dark with it or just pull back. Because I think also another motivation for him is because of the whole thing of not getting this bad politician into, get him into, say justice that way with him. And everything he's been through, he's trying to prove something to himself, that he's not like a failure, or, especially when the father's looking down at him and he feels, lost with his daughter and his wife, and he's turning deeper and deeper to this darkness within himself, because it's all
it's definitely driving him to madness. Because like even at that dinner table, like even though the wife is kind of trying to keep nice control, like she's not really treating Bayou badly, but she can see that dad's kind of like fucking with him a bit with this new guy that's got all these connections and stuff. But there's that scene where like he's at the table and he starts like, again, imagining that they're laughing at him, like the mother-in-law, the wife, the dad. So he's like, he starts seeing what's not really there, and so it's driving him insane how pissed off he is at the world.
And Naru's playing on it.
Yeah,
he's like pushing him towards the madness.
Yeah, but again, to your point about the attention to detail, like so again, like that first kill with the girl, the camera angle from inside the bag, like when he hits her in the head and you see like the blood trickle down within, I think that's just a great attention to detail there.
attention to detail I remember about that seal is when she leans her head back because she's got the back, and you just see the blood trickling down her back.
Yep.
And it just made you feel icky, but you also like couldn't keep your eyes off what was happening.
Yeah, this film will make you feel very dirty, no doubt about it.
Yeah.
But yeah, so Bayou ends up, killing the PR guy, and weirdly enough, you don't hear too much more about it. Now it's either because, I mean, obviously Dharma finds out about it at some point later in the movie, but as far as the police or anybody, no one's really speaking about it. But again, we've got Nomura, who is attempting to connect with the girl with the young brother who's autistic, and so he stops by and he's buying flowers, and he's they kind of go on dates, and while this is going on, he's still bringing girls home that he can murder on film in different ways. Like he even shows at one point his and when Maya says, "Are you really that guy?" And he's like, "Oh, well, let me show you." And he starts showing all his tools, his chainsaws and stuff like that. So he's clearly the guy. But again, like you said, Nomura is more of a polished killer, so he knows how to hide his identity very well. But again, by the time we get towards the end of the film, which we'll get there eventually, but he slips up because he's trying to find that normalcy that he would never have. Like if he had stayed just the course, they probably would have never caught him. Like he's just that good. So he's trying to build something with this one, but then we get this moment, which I thought was kind of funny. He picks up this prostitute and takes her out, but then there's like this moment where he has a flashback about the sister. He loses control of the car, and this girl starts yelling. I'm like, take me
breaks
back.
Her nose. He breaks her nose.
Yeah. So he takes her back, and of course he's talking to, I think it's either Bayou or the girl. I can't remember which one he was talking on the phone with. But the prostitute's clearly talking to her pimp, and he's coming up, and then the pimp starts roughing up. So I was like, a part of me thought that maybe Nomura would kind of fuck this guy up, which eventually he does later. But it's like, it also tells me that Nomura seems to have more power over women than he does men. So like he's almost like Bayou in the sense that he's not a big physical presence. He is a big guy, but he's not like a fighter. So he's somebody that uses his power for the women because they're easier to control.
Yeah. Well, if up to this point, all you ever see him murder is women.
Yeah.
It's like that's his MO. He's like a serial killer of women. And it's like all connecting back to his history with his sister and his mother and his family. For some reason, he targets these women, but obviously the pimp knocks him out, beats him up, and looks at his wallet and says his name, and that, so he knows who he is. So obviously he knows now that the pimp knows who he is. He's probably going to have to take him out, because if anything goes down, the pimp is a perfect person to potentially identify him later on if anything were to go wrong. So obviously, like you say, there is that scene after that happens, that you see him have a vulnerable moment with who owns a flower shop, where he actually expresses, you should have just killed your brother. Because they have this heart to heart where he explains about his past with his sister, losing his sister, his dad's murder, and all of this stuff. And she now sympathizes. So for the first time, I think he's opening up to somebody, because Bayou, yes, he looks is like a brother in arms. He thinks he's like him. He's a serial killer that's discovering himself. He wants him to, dive deep into the darkness. But when he looks at her as like another sister figure. But he also, I think, in his mind, because of what he witnessed, thinking that she was trying to murder her brother, which wasn't the case. He assumes she's like him, has this dark side to her. So he's found two people, one that's more like a sister figure that reminds him of his sister, and this other person that reminds him of himself. And he's like, because of that, he's now starting to slip up and let things, break away from him.
Yep. And obviously also Bayou, he's starting to lose more and more control of his emotions. So he has this moment where he goes to visit the wife, who's, you know, obviously they're separated, but he visits her home, and he walks in, and this other guy, John, who is the new guy in her life or whatever. We don't know if they're really romantic at that point or not, but
well, at the dinner, the dad brought him over to have dinner with him because it's the dad's friend, and I think the
right.
dad's basically trying to set them up.
Yeah. Yeah, but we just don't ever see anything right off the bat. But anyway, but that's sort of the implication that he's going to be the replacement. So obviously this guy John, he's chatting with the daughter about homework or something, and she's very excited because he's a nice guy. He's pretty level-headed, and but of course, you know, Bayou's trying to talk to his wife about, you know, what's going on. Like he wants to get back with her. He wants things to be back to normal. But you know, in his anger, kind of grabs her, you know, because they're arguing, and then, you know, I don't think he was going to hurt her at that point, but clearly John hears it. He walks in, and, you know, he's trying to say, hey man, maybe it's better if you just walk away. The girl's out there, you know, the daughter. And so, you know, Bayou's like, well, what the fuck do you know about my family? Like he's now his anger is on John, and so he gets really rough with John. He actually is one moment where Bayou's actually taking initiative to be the aggressor, but it hurts him because one, it upsets the wife. She wants him out, and then the daughter sees this violence, and so she's concerned. And so now obviously Bayou's like, got to leave because he's losing his shit. So he's losing control just from his own emotions, and, you know, as you said earlier, his ability to be careless with everything that he's doing. He's not thinking anything. Everything's reactive as opposed to proactive. With Nomura, it's more just, as you said, also he's trying to find a connection, but it's opening him up in a way that's going to expose him, and that's sort of what got him in trouble with the prostitute. So it then leads him to go to a club where he finds the pimp, and he gets into a big scuffle in either the bathroom or something, and ends up winning by stabbing him or something. But like you can tell it took a while to wrestle this guy. This guy was strong. So
this is his messiest kill, because if you look at every kill he's done up to this point, it's always been meticulous. It's always been thoroughly thought out. It's always been planned. It's always been somewhere where you can easily clean the mess up, where he's had to do this out of desperation to save his identity from being exposed. So he's literally just going 10 to the dozen with this knife at his chest. But the thing is, he's a big dude. The pimp, he doesn't go down. So he literally got him by the neck, and as he's getting stabbed, he's trying to choke him out.
Yeah.
This is probably one of my favorite scenes in the movie, because for the first time you see Naruto, and he actually looks not scared, but he's like, shit, I can actually take this dude down.
Yeah, and it comes back to that whole thing where he feels in control when he has the women that he's killing, because they're a little bit more frail, a little bit more petite, but this guy is like a bear. And so it's like he's really got to struggle with this guy to get him down. But as you said, the guy knows who he is, so it's like a liability. So he does manage to get him, and somehow he cleans up a little bit, but then he ends up going back out into the club floor, and he finds that prostitute. And for a quick minute, she doesn't know who he is until she realizes, oh, okay. So he grabs her, and now he's got her back at the pad, and he's got plans for her. She's in the chair. He's got the plastic down, so he's ready to go to business. And then he gets ding dong. And what we didn't talk about was another mistake that Namaru makes, is that he's trying to connect with the young brother, the autistic kid. So he finds out this kid's being bullied, and you know, he says, well, what you got to do is, you know, I got a new toy for you. It's a taser. So he gives him the taser. And of course, you know, autistic kid, you know, he's like, oh, this is kind of cool, because he did buy him like a video game earlier or something like that. But there's another kid walking down the street, and he's like, okay, well, go play with your toy. Go to test it out. Yeah. So he went and just tased some random kid. I don't think it's anybody who was even bullying him, but he's like, yeah, go test out your new toy. And then he kind of drives off. But that clearly he's planting a seed in this kid now that's like, you can do harmful things to people and be okay with it. Like, again, it's again him trying to lay his own seeds to the future, what he feels like should be more people, because he always saw himself as, people don't do what we do. We get to do it because we feel like it and we can do it.
Mm-hmm.
But of course he hides in the shadows. So it's not really being open. But so with this girl and this kid, he's trying to believe that they're in the same mindset that he is. But obviously, when the autistic boy starts behaving differently and being more aggressive, maybe with the taser and stuff, she plays a visit to the house, and so he's got goes up there, sees that she's out there, and she actually does a smart thing. She calls the phone, and it rings, so she knows he's home. But he makes the mistake. He lets her in. They're talking, and she's kind of yelling at him about what did you do to my brother? Like, why is he acting differently and more angry? And why does he have this fucking taser? Like, what are you doing? And it's at that point that the girl downstairs that's tied up is starting to make a lot of noise. I thought for sure a guy that would be this meticulous would have like a soundproof room. He did not have that.
Yeah. Well, don't forget, the girl that he's got tied downstairs is the prostitute that
Right. Yeah.
Because after he left the club, after killing the pimp, he sees the girl that was the prostitute he was going to take home and murder in the first place, who obviously he sees her at the bar, gets her, drags her out and beats the shit out of her, hides her in the back of the car and then takes her home. So he does that, locks her up, but then she looks completely different because clearly she has disguises when she goes. Yeah, she has disguises when she goes out and does that, job.
Now there was that funny scene when he was putting her in the trunk and those cops showed up. And they're checking his ID. So they're checking his ID, and like in the background, like I kind of forgot about this until I rewatched it last night, but in the background, she like wakes up from being beaten up a little bit. So
and gets out the car.
Yeah, he's wrestling around, but the cops don't even notice. Like he throws her back in and then shuts it, and that's when they finally look up. But that was just a funny scene to me because like you could just see him wrestling around in the background while the cops are talking.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so she's the one in the basement that he's planning on, taking her out and finishing that piece of work that he wanted. But because he's upstairs with the other girl, what is her name? Is it? No, it's not that. I think that's Hisei. Yeah, I think Hisei is her name. But so as they start hearing noise, and so actually the girl hears like another girl crying out, which is the prostitute. So now he's pretty much exposed. Like he knows that she's caught him like doing something nefarious. So so he starts turning that look that Kitamura gets that you see in Final Wars. He's got that like bitch face, like pissed off bitch face.
Yeah. And
so he's like the dark side starting to come out, and now she understands that, she's dealing with like a crazy motherfucker.
Yes.
But she does use some common sense. He's actually about to strangle her by the door. And then she uses a taser on him, to which she probably could have left and been in better shape, but she decides to go and try to retrieve the girl downstairs. And so she does. And of course she gets her, but again, here comes Nomura, and he's now trying to corner them, but now there's like this big fight that ensues. And go ahead.
No. So obviously, we'll go back to the bit where obviously she hears the girl yelling, and we need to go. He then starts explaining to her who he is, because she's only got to know him as like a customer at the flower shop. Who's then kind of befriended her and the brother, even though he said you need to kill your brother, which instantly I'd be like, I would have backed away. So I don't want to see him again. But anyway, she goes to his house, like you're saying. once she has the girl screen, she knows something really bad is happening. He then starts acting very creepy, starts explaining to her who he is, that he's killed girls in the past. He actually goes, well, I killed this one with a mallet once. And then he basically starts trickling down the amount of women he's murdered, which obviously she then finally goes, just shut up. But
yeah, because and that's kind of like what we learn, where he gives her the details, like, well, you tried to murder your brother, and she's like, no, you saw it wrong. I was trying to kill us both.
Yeah.
And so you get that clarification from her point of view. And so now she knows she's just dealing with a psychotic, like she knows this.
Because like I said earlier, he looked at her, he thought she had like this darkness in her the way he has. And he looked at her maybe like as a potential, not just like he looks at Bayu as like a brother in arms, like a potential, like somebody can go around and do this with. But he looked at her as somebody who, if she's got that darkness, she could be my partner, like romantically. But then when she explains to him, I didn't try to kill me brother, I was going to kill us both. It was thinking of suicide because I'm in such this dark place. And when she tells him that, his attitude towards that changes, and he now just sees her as like another victim. And as he approaches her, she has the taser in her hand, but he doesn't see. And she's right in his chest, and she sets it off, and he stuns, falls to the floor. She went to go out the door, but then she heard, like I say, she knows there's a woman screaming downstairs. So she probably, she could have easily just picked up the phone, rang the cops, said there's a psycho who's trying to kill us, there's a screaming woman downstairs. But no, she decides to enter the house, go downstairs, sees the woman tied up, the prostitute, unhooks her. As they come up the stairs to go out, they see he's now putting on his white mask that he wears. It's like part of his ritual when he goes to kill women. But then because of that, it then turns into like a game of Squid Games where they've got to go into these different rooms to try and get out, and they find all the weapons, but then they go into another room, and next thing you know, it turns into Psycho. Because as they go into the room, he keeps talking about the sister he loved one day, the sister he loved who he lost. Or when they go into this room, there is basically a bed that's all like white. It's like a shrine.
Like a shrine, yeah.
And when they go to the bed, there is the deceased body of his sister just laid out in the bed in like the same gear, the clothing that she was wearing like in the flashbacks. And every time he has a vision of her, she would have a certain outfit on. So they obviously are completely freaked out. And this is when he comes in to try and kill them. And they basically have to fight for their life to get out. And he's got this mask on, and there's like because obviously don't forget he's been buying flowers, and you thought the flowers were like a symbolism of every time he'd killed a woman, he was buying flowers to put around the house as a way of like at the end of the ritual. But no, the flowers he's been buying are to put around the bed of his sister, his deceased body.
Yeah.
And so it makes perfect sense that she picks up a large vase with flower, and she just smashes him in the side of the head, and the glass goes into his mask, and his head starts pouring the blood, and he starts screaming in agony, and they eventually get out and escape, and he's now basically being caught.
Yep.
And so
because obviously they would go to the police or whatever, so he decides he's gonna burn everything down. Like, he says, talks to his sister who's dead, and it's like, it's over, so he sets it afire. Pretty much gonna move on now.
He basically says that everything comes to an end, sister, including this. So basically he's like saying goodbye to his sister for the last time.
So then obviously we're gonna kind of skip over this a little bit fast, but Bayu to try to attempted to hunt down Dharma in a hotel. And that turns into like a crazy thing, because I did not think you'd be able to escape that because of so many people there.
That was hilarious.
Yeah. So, that's almost like something out of Old Boy.
They are the most useless fucking bodyguards. you could ever. One man, and literally all he's doing is like trying to move out the way, and they just kind of grab him. And then there's that scene where he literally gets the mask taken off him. They can see his face, and he's locking the door, and he just runs out, and it's like, that's it.
Yeah. So yeah, so he has that episode. So Dharma wasn't there, but it might have been like Dharma's son, I think, or somebody there. And he kills that person. So that just sets off that whole chain of events. So anyway, Bayou ends up coming back home, and he's beat up, passed out on the bed, and his daughter comes to wake him up, and she's like, Dad, get up. Mom's here. She wants to talk to you. So he goes out, and they start having a discussion. Now this is where he's very upset. He knows that he's been fucking up. He knows that he still wants to get back with her. He's basically pleading, and she actually says, okay, maybe we'll make it work. And she understands the pain he's going through, like the guilt that he didn't make it work with the journalism, and how he's just kind of spiraled. But she doesn't know a lot of the other shit that's been happening. So he goes to, I think, take her to school or something. Or maybe she's already at school, but he's driving. And so she's kind of cleaning up the apartment that he's at and discovers a gun. And the next thing we know, he's calling her, but he can't get a hold of her because someone's got to pick up the daughter. So he goes back to the apartment, and he's sitting down and looks at the photo of them together, and then notices a camera on a tripod. And he automatically knows that that's not a good sign.
Yeah.
And this is one, like, again, I'd kind of forgotten. Like, it's been years since I watched this. I do own it, but it's been a while since I watched it. But I'd kind of forgotten about this, and it totally sets up the entire end of the movie. But he sees the camera, and then he walks into the bedroom, and then sure enough, his wife is there, just bloodied and cut up and just destroyed. Like, she's been murdered right there on the bed. And he is distraught. Like, this was like his whole reason of being, her and the daughter. And now it's like, fuck. And he knows exactly who is behind it, which kind of calls back to the beginning where Bayou was so careless about his identity when uploading videos and stuff that he allowed Nomura to kind of know how to get a hold of him if he had to. That's something that Nomura was kind of holding in his back pocket. So so now he's grabbing the gun and he's hunting for Nomura. Straight out of fucking Pulp Fiction, they sees him across the street, so he starts walking across the street, and then all of a sudden a car hits him. And the car that hits him has some of the goons from Dharma, and they put him into the...
But I don't know if you did, but like at the beginning, because I knew in my mind I'm thinking it's definitely got to be Dharma that set up the whole thing with the wife. But the way they made you view it is that it was Narara who killed her, because he's grieving at her side, and he looks up and there's Naru standing at the door. So he follows him out, and he's got like the gun in his hand, and he's shaking, covered in blood, puts it in his back pocket. He sees him there on the street, and then he follows him out, and then he's on the other, Nanaru's on the other side of the route, and he goes to pull the gun out to shoot him. Because in my mind, they've set up the thing right, and because you kind of, have kind of turned me down and turned your back on me, in retaliation, I've killed your wife. So basically, I thought they were setting that up for them to have this confrontation, and then obviously he goes to shoot him in the middle of the road, but then he gets hit by the car. He's totally knocked out. He's bleeding internally. He's busted open. These goons pick him up, put him in the car, and then they drive up. But then you see Naru's face. Like, what the fuck? So immediately you're like, he wasn't involved in that, but the way they were making it set up, they were setting up like this was retaliation to Bayou for kind of turning him down and, not giving in to his dark side.
No, clearly, it's sort of Nomura kind of just he knows his days are numbered because the girls got away. So he already knows that his identity is a problem. So, and at the time that he had the prostitute was going to kill her, this is when Bayou's watching. He's like, no, don't do this. Like he's telling the guy, don't do this. So he's definitely changing his mentality back to being a normal person. Like, this isn't me. Don't be doing this. So that is, like you said, that's how Nomura sees is like this betrayal of not following through.
Yeah.
So he gets taken by the goons from Dharma, and they're in some like abandoned building. And so Dahmer's there, and of course, Dahmer's been able to get a hold of his daughter. Now, the only thing I don't know at this point is whether or not the daughter knows about the mother. I don't think she does, but
I wouldn't. Yeah,
because
I
of the
don't think
way,
she would.
well, the thing is, when he's trying to hug her, like we'll talk about what happened, but when he tries to hug her, Bayou, she pulls away, like she's very angry and upset. So it's either because she feels like he put her in that situation, or she knew something more. But I'm guessing she doesn't know about the mother at this point.
Yeah.
So she's initially tied up. She's got a blindfold, and Dahmer's there, and he's got this one goon. The one guy that's with him, I don't remember his name, the actor's name, but I'm pretty sure I've seen him in the Raid movies because he looks very familiar. But he's like the head goon, and so he's the one that's kind of, he takes like a brick to Bayou's foot, and that's like, oh, that looks like that hurts so bad. So they're basically torturing Bayou on the ground, and and this is where we see the really dark side of Dharma, because he's like, yeah, I think once we get rid of you, I'm gonna take your daughter as my own, but then I'm gonna make her my wife. It's like, holy shit, dude, she's probably like 14. Like, what are you doing? So this guy is clearly a predator, and so it just makes you hate this guy even more. This Dharma guy. So. Are you gonna say something?
No, just like obviously right at the beginning of the movie where they did the press conference at the court, like the PR guy was saying, he's there's all these rumors and allegations that he's beat his wife up and that he's a predator of young girls. None of it's true. None of it's true. And then at first we thought, right, and that's because the PR guy is the predator. And he is clearly a paedophile because you witness it in the movie.
Yeah.
But then you think, all right, maybe when you got to that part in the movie, you're thinking to yourself, well, clearly there's two truths. Probably Dharma does beat up his wife, but it's not him who's the paedophile. It's the PR guy who's the paedophile. So they've mixed the two truths up into one to get Dharma. Right. But then right at the end, like you say, he's now saying to him about his daughter, I'm going to make your daughter my new bride. So it immediately makes you feel sick, or that everything that has been said about you, that it isn't a lie, it is actually the truth.
Yep. So then the goon is getting ready to kill Bayou, and as he's attempting to do that, he gets shot. This is where Nomura comes back. He has the gun that he dropped when he got hit by the car, and kills the goon, or at least wounds him, and then obviously Nomura is now there. Dharma has no idea who this guy is. He's about ready to find out, though. So I kind of forget how these events unfold, but obviously Nomura ends up coming back, and he ends up killing the goon. Like, I don't know if he smashed his face. He was looking like a brick and a knife. Like, he took the brick, I think, and crushed the guy's head or something. But he ends up getting the cane away from Dharma and like basically hitting him with it. So Dharma falls to the ground because Dharma limps around with that cane. But Dharma thought he was going to win here, and he's kind of like getting his ass kicked. But this is where probably goes back to your theory. Nomura's like, okay, get up, Bayou. You're gonna kill him or he's gonna kill you. One of you guys are gonna fight to the death, and that's basically what he's trying to do. It's entertainment now for Nomura.
Yeah. And then they end up fighting, and he does end up killing Dharma, which he's happy to do. But then things get even darker, and then in the last few minutes of the movie, so after Dharma's killed, and kind of justice. Bio's kind of gotten what he wanted. He's ended this horrible predator who kind of set his life up on fire, but then he's looking at his daughter, and the daughter's kind of like, she's got like this look on her face, like, do I even know who this man is, who my father is? Because she's seeing signs of him she's never seen before, and she's acting in a many way like in shock or is scared. And as they're standing there was a bit of a scuffle, and he's got like, because he was handcuffed.
Yeah.
Like in one part of the handcuff was loose. So when they were struggling, he still had the handcuff part on his hand. And this is
Dharma.
Yeah. And that's when Nararu, he goes, congratulations, you've finally, you've given to your darkness by killing, Dharma. He goes, we can end this now, and walk away together. But then he's like, there's just one part left, but I'm gonna do the end part. I'm gonna end this. And basically he goes behind his daughter, and he's basically just telling, because he looks at his daughter as a weakness in many ways. The same as when he looked at the woman who owns the flower shop. Her brother with autism is a weakness.
Yeah.
And it would not have surprised me once you get to this final part of the movie that when you see his sister laying out as a corpse in the bed, it wouldn't have surprised me if he killed his own sister.
Yeah, I was wondering about that because, and I keep going back to, because he has this love for his sister, but then part of me wonders if he was, incestuous with the sister, and maybe she either killed herself or he did it. Like, so they never really elaborate, but there's clearly a connection to trauma with him and the sister.
I think, this is just my personal opinion, I think the sister was his weakness. He loved the sister, but for him to truly be fully immersed into this dark side of his personality, he had to kill her to be free. And so he did that. And I think, now that I think that every time he fucked up, it's because he had a dream, or he had he'd had an hallucination of his sister there. And I think that was, in many ways, his guilt coming through of what he'd done to the sister. Even though he's been a professional killer for so long, he's still got that guiltness of the sister. And in his mind, he's like, right, if I kill Bio's daughter, then Bio has got no choice but, like myself, but to give
in the dark side.
Give into this complete darkness. But obviously Bio, because of everything he's went through, he was in such a dark place. I don't think in his mind he's a serial killer, but because of all the trauma in all of the injustice he's had in his life, he was going down a dark path. And in his mind,
he had a lot of things to answer for. And I think that's, it's funny because this movie has such a dark ending the more you think about it, the more that it makes sense. Because as you said, even if he wanted to, get the daughter and kind of like move on in life, there's no way you could, because there's so many things he would have to answer for, the things that he's done. And so there's really only one way this could have ended, and it's pretty much how it does, is he and Nomura get into a fight, but Nomura has the gun, he doesn't. He has, I don't know if he has a knife or whatever at this point, but they're kind of struggling, and then Nomura gets the better of him and points the gun and shoots him in the face. But as he's falling back, and they're up, in this old building that's run down, and it's pretty high, so he's falling back, but he grabs Nomura with him, and they both fall like to their deaths on top of a car. And of course, at this point, the daughter's already had blindfolds off, and we went through that whole thing where the daughter was like sad, loved her dad, but then was repulsed by him at the same time. So she's okay, but they've fallen to their death. And then you get these group of boys that show up, and how poetic that one of the boys that's there last has got his video phone out and he's videoing the death of Nomura because he's not quite dead yet. He's kind of coughing up blood. And so the one thing that Nomura made a career out of is now he's the focus on the film of dying, like on film. So kind of poetic there.
And as he takes his last breath, he goes, "Cut," because he's like end scene kind of thing.
Yeah,
which I thought was great.
Yeah, it's a nice touch to the film for sure. So, what are your final thoughts of Killers, and what would be your rating from 1 to 10 on this film?
Never seen it before. Pleasantly surprised. I kind of knew it would be a decent film because of who the producers were. The cast were phenomenal. The two leads were fantastic. Great story, like you said. Great cinematography. It had good moments. It had dark moments. It had, really interesting characters. And if I had to rate it, I think it's a solid 10 out of 10.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So again, when I saw this for the first time, and this is the funny thing, like when I think about Sinners, whenever I see a movie and I immediately buy the Blu-ray or DVD, it tells me that this movie is something that I'm going to love forever. Like it's just going to be something that's going to be so great. And when I saw this initially back in the day, I immediately bought it. Like I said, this is a fantastic film. I have to have this. But it's also one of these films where I know that despite how much I love it, I'm not going to watch it super often because it is so dark. You kind of have to prepare yourself. You said it earlier in the episode that it just makes you feel dirty. And so there's a lot of darkness in this.
It's got a lot of it.
Yeah. There's just no way to get around. Like even at the end of it, you're like, I feel bad for the daughter because now she has nobody. Like she's gone through all this shit. But I'm with you. It's a 10 out of 10 easy. I love this film. It's just well acted, well directed. Cinematography is great.
Yeah. Here's a question for you. Would you want to see, because obviously another massive Korean hit was Internal Affairs, which was a trilogy. Then they created The Departed, which was a Oscar-winning movie. Would you want to see done with the right actors, right producers, and taken seriously and really did a good job? Would you want to see an American version of this?
I wouldn't mind. But I think you're right. I think that if you're going to do it, make sure you have the right actors, and make sure that you are, people get mad, like saying, well, you don't want to really copy, you want to kind of make it your own. Well, you can kind of do that, but there's a lot to live up to try to do this film, even on the American version of it, because of how well it's shot.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of like, I couldn't even tell you who I want to see do it, but just maybe out of curiosity, and I don't know how you would feel. So you've seen Beyond the Black Rainbow as well as Mandy, right? So I wouldn't mind seeing that director tackle this because you can kind of play around with the colors and the music that he does with the score. You don't have to make it too crazy, but at the same time, I think he's the kind of guy that could make it very interesting. And that's kind of like what you're looking for. So yeah, I mean, as long as you have the right actors involved, I think it'd be fine. Like I think it'd be really good.
Yeah, but as long as it's not just like a cheap, we want to take the name, put the name on it and make a shitty cheap copy version. I want to see legit. I want it to be taken seriously and them really put the effort in, because like you say, you had Eternal Affairs, which was a trilogy over, was that Japanese? I think it was. But then they did the trilogy of that, and then they did The Departed, but they had Leonardo DiCaprio, Matt Damon, Mark Wahlberg, and Jack Nicholson. And it was just as good, if not better, than Eternal Affairs. I like them both equally.
Yeah.
So I would want a director and actors and cast, crew, cinematography that when they did it, I could then look at the original 2014 Killers and then look at the Americanized version and go, I like them both equally.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's the thing. Like, I know there was a movie that Nick and I watched about 4 years ago that I can't remember the home country, but it's called Speak No Evil, and it has a dark ending. But America, of course, had to make their own, and I didn't see the new one. It has the guy that plays Professor X, the younger version.
Is it James McAvoy?
Yeah. So he's a great actor. And so I don't mind that, but I didn't get to see it, but Rick Myers did. But Rick told me that he likes the America one because they changed the ending to a more happy ending. And I think that kind of takes away from the original one from the way that I feel about it. So in this case, I don't want them to really go happy ending on this. They'd have to stay true to this. Like, I think that's why it impacts everybody, because it's so complicated.
See, I've seen the American version, but I haven't seen the original. So I've seen the American version, and I thought it was decent.
Yeah, I mean, you probably have some good actors. McAvoy's a great actor. It's just that once I've seen that first version, because I remember Neko and I were at the end going like, "Oh, that's fucked up." Like, again, it's that dirty feel that you get when you see an ending that you're not expecting. Now you're kind of changing it to where, okay, it turns out everyone's happy. And it's like, I don't know if I can go back and watch the new one and still get that same feeling that I did in the first.
Yeah, McAvoy did a good job. Like, if you've seen Split and how he plays like the Beast in the Split, how he's like, he changes his personalities. He's very good at that in that as well, where he's like this lovable, jokeable character with his wife, and he's a bit sarcastic, and but then when he goes, turns dark, he does it
really
like
dark.
that. Yeah. So he does. That's one thing he is good in the role. But like I say, I couldn't judge this against the original because I haven't seen the original. But all I can say with the American version, I did enjoy it.
Good. So tell everybody what you got coming up on the entertainment headquarters.
Right, so this week I'm soon going to be releasing my top 10 gangster movies. So as you know, gangster movies can be anything from mafia to just crime movies. So it's going to have a mixture in there. I do plan on doing a unboxing video of my Spiral Studios Godzilla pre-evolved statue that recently got, and on Friday you and I will be doing our show, the Retro Classic Movie Show, and we'll be doing Passenger 57.
Now it's gonna be such a blast. I haven't revisited that in a long time.
Yeah.
As for me, tomorrow I'm joining Samurai Guy and Rick Myers for Action Film Autopsy. So there's a few films in there and series that Rick talks about. A few of them I did catch and watch, so I'll be adding a little more commentary than usual this month. Wednesday, Mr. Tony and I are going to get our Ghouls of Midnight back on track. And my pick was supposed to be last week, is now this week, is Invoking Yell. And his is 1997 Sphere with Sharon Stone and company. Then Thursday, me, Poet and Neko are going to get forces together to do Poetic Carnage to kick off the NFL season, do our division winners as well as our picks for the playoffs and Super Bowl, and then maybe we'll adjust it as the season goes on, because sometimes teams fall on the wayside. But if you're a sports fan, check that out for sure. And then, of course, as you said, Friday I'll be joining you for Passenger 57, and then later in the evening I'm getting together with Alvin to do a vintage cult cinema, and we're going to be reviewing The Last Boy Scout. And then on Saturday, Silver Screen Savants returns, and then it's my pick, which I'm picking my all-time favorite horror film, Suspiria, and we'll be reviewing that. So
that'll be cool.
Yeah.
Yes.
But as always, and of course, for those that don't know, September for Mr. Lambert is the month of the samurai. So the next cinematic synergy is going to be right up that alley, and his pick is going to be 47 Ronin. And I'll be looking forward to. I don't think I've ever actually watched that all the way through. I've always known about it. Is that the Keanu Reeves film?
Yes. Okay.
Okay.
Well, there's an original, and this is like many years like a reimagining of the original. But also that month, I would like us to review, if you would like, Living Rebels.
Yes, I do want to do that. Yep.
Yeah,
Certainly.
yeah. Samurai I had asked him to join up, but he says he's fully booked. He's got too much on in September. But I'm hoping to have him join us for something special in November. If I can get it. If we can pull it off, we'll be there.
There you go. It used to be we get like a month ahead to get Samurai onto something. Now you got to go 2 months ahead because he's so packed with stuff.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But yeah, we'll be doing a lot of cool Samurai stuff. I know you got some stuff for the Kurosawa era stuff that we'll be doing. So I'm really looking for it. I got to go back and start watching some of that stuff.
Yeah, the Akira Kurosawa special. We're doing 4 films. We're doing The Seven Samurai, Ran, The Hidden Fortress, and Yojimbo.
Yojimbo. Yeah, good one.
Yes.
I like that a lot.
Yeah.
But as always, sir, thank you for joining me. It's always a pleasure. And for the rest of you, give us your thoughts. What do you think about this film? Have you seen it? How do you score it? And give us recommendations. We always like recommendations too. So if you guys want to see something in particular being reviewed, let us know.
Yeah.
We'll be glad to do it for you. Outside of that, hit the like and subscribe. Please go like and subscribe to the Entertainment Headquarters. And we'll see you next time on the
Metal Tavern Radio. Don't forget, if you're not subscribed, subscribe to this bad boy right here.
Do it. Do it.
You see me before you die. Find the blood.